Imagine that.
Such a
Welcome
dad
to
joke.
the epicenter of sports and entertainment. This is the Rude Dog Show. Now, here's your host, Rudy Reyes.
A T-GIF or TGIF or however your Friday, well, however you spend your Friday, make sure you spend at least 30 minutes with me and yours truly, Rudy Reyes, on the RudeDogShow.com. Lots of great stuff. And of course, I have my two favorite guys. Head of their couch coach is trying to come back on with his webcam. Of course, Cory Bosemer. If I said it right, I hope I did. If I didn't, I
Close
apologize
enough.
in advance.
Close enough.
Close enough. You know, you guys are out there experiencing what the cold weather is like in Indianapolis right now. And I know traffic wasn't very friendly around the general area. Cory's just getting there today. And of course, Coach has been there for a little bit. Chris, I'm going to go to you first. Out of all the guys that you've spoken to today at the Combine, I know there were quite a few of them, a lot at the podium, and they seem really relaxed, kind of kick back, recognizing the obstacles or, for lack of a better term, athletic things they would have to perform on the field today on top of the 40 for linebackers. Who was your favorite?
Dorian Thompson Robinson. I just love like how answer those questions. A lot of one of the questions I wanted to ask him was the Chip Kelly angle, but somebody already beat me to it. But just the fact of his confidence. As a matter of fact, when we ran into him when we were on the way to Lucas Oil, he just seemed just a real chill, laid back guy. I think he's the one where I can see him him becoming a starter down the line. May not be like in 2023, but I like his poise as well. Even I think even a guy. Actually, we had it was a wide receiver, C.J. Johnson from East Carolina.
Yep.
Great. He was, gave us a great sound bite today. Um, Felt very confident, and then even from the tail end of what I've heard of CJ and Bryce, where they just some Southern California kids. They just here. They just want to ball, and I think that's what the kind of the view thing about it. If they are, if you if you are one of the recipients of the quarterback talent, you gotta get ready to pull up the sleeves and work.
Yeah, you have to adjust your audio a little bit. I caught the majority of that, but very, very low.
Okay.
So with that, I've watched some of the linebackers, play today. At least play. When I call play, I mean play as in once they're on the field is play time. That's kind of It's just like being in a sandbox. Once you're in a sandbox, you can play, build a castle. Hopefully, don't throw the sand at other people. But I think the kind of guys that were out there today running the 40, Cory, I look at the slew and plethora of who those guys are.
Yeah.
Give me your assessment. Based on what you were looking at, who was the fastest, the smoothest, and then give me the worst performance.
Fastest, the name's slipping my mind, but the guy from Michigan, the defensive back, his first attempt was a 4.27.
Wow,
now, that's
not lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4.27. Now, his second attempt wasn't as quick, but it still wasn't as slow as a 4.27. So that kid from Michigan really stood out. And overall, though, honestly, what I saw, a lot of the guys' second attempts out there were fairly worse than their first attempts were, like considerably. I'm talking a whole 3.5 seconds for some of them. Worst,
Wow.
Catrell Clark, if I'm pronouncing it right, Keytrell Clark, Louisville only was like 1/10 of a second difference as far as time goes from first to second attempt. So to me, he stood out the most as far as consistency goes when it comes to the running time.
Okay.
And
So then who was the worst?
I'll say schools. I won't say names.
That's okay. You can say however you want it.
I know, but there's a guy from USC that didn't fare too well.
Wow, USC.
Didn't fare too well at all.
Wow, that's kind of amazing, and I say that because not everybody was invited to the combine, but more importantly, USC, out of all teams, slower than molasses. I have a hard time
I don't
biting that. I
know
mean,
if
I'm
if
sure it's
if
like
you
what in
say
a four,
slow as
five, eight.
molasses, but they just didn't.
Well,
He
compared to
didn't
everyone
fare
else,
well. Yeah, he didn't
right? Well,
fare
compared to
well.
everyone else at like 4.3, 4.4, and a 40, he was probably 4.5, 4.6, maybe in the 40. That doesn't exactly
Ish.
strike me as being super fast. So you are
Yeah.
losing it either at the line or in stride, or you're just not giving it everything you have. Now, I understand you have differentiations in athleticism from
Yep.
free safeties who aren't carrying that extra 150, 175 pounds to a defensive lineman, who's checking in at, 280, 290. So you're going to see a differentiation. But look, speed is speed. Either you have it or you don't. You can't
No,
just
that's
make up
correct.
speed.
That's correct. Yeah. There was another guy that I think did like almost 4.7, right around 4.7 time. I'm like, good luck, buddy. That ain't.
He's got a little bit of time. He's got a little bit of time. I mean, not enough time to make up. I mean, he does have time, but not anywhere near the amount of time he's going to need to make up. Those numbers are final. Now, I'm not going to say that the NFL Combine is the end all, but this is a collective unit. You have collective athletic guys from all over the country competing
Yes.
to be noticed by scouts, having conversations with teams while they're there. There are free agents. We and Chris were talking about this yesterday in regards to some guys being there free agent mode. Did you see any free agents, Cory, yourself hanging around there today?
No, honestly, I didn't. I really didn't. All I've seen was the guys that were there for the combine to perform and college coaches.
Okay, well, very good. I expect more to be there as the week goes on. Of course, we're headed into the weekend, tomorrow being Saturday. This show is on today's California, today's Canada. If you're into that Canadian kind of thing, which most people are, especially when Crown Royal is from Canada. I don't know if you guys are drinkers or who isn't, but yeah, stuff like that. Peanut butter, I think. I don't know. Uh, they say football, but that cannot be the case at all. I disagree with that. And of course, live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, of course, on Insider's Guide. Of course, I can't not mention two of my fantastic partners. One is SaturdaysCount.com. There are 12 Saturdays in an NCAA football season. Make those 12 weeks count with a win and put a natty in the case. Go to SaturdaysCount.com to get your free shirt of the team you root for, the team you've been to and seen on the sidelines, or the college you happen to attend. You just want to make sure you show your pride for your school. And of course, Trophy Case. Look, Trophy Case is a way to go. If you want to be a part of being the class that is being looked at right now, you got to go to trophycase.app. Download the app, build your profile, be specific, put some whatever roles, if you have huddle film, whatever it might be, stick it in trophycase.app. Build your profile, be seen, be in it to win it. Trophycase.app. When I looked at the combine as a whole heading into it, of course, I thought to myself that maybe there would be some maybe tricks to the trade, if you will, from guys that have been there, done that. Who was hanging around there? Anybody either one of you gentlemen have recognized or seen either on TV or on the sidelines from their respective schools or NFL team?
Well, we was on the way to the combine. I've recognized Carson Palmer's brother Jordan Palmer, quarterback guru, and Josh McCown. They were right there, and I think Chris called him what's Drago. Drago, the guy
Oh,
from
Evan Drago,
Rocky.
yeah. Josh McCown, yeah. Shout out to Josh McCown.
I didn't know McCann would ever get a mention on this show, but I guess that it's just the way the cookie crumbles, if you
You
will.
said people you realize those were the first two. As soon as they was right there, I was like, that's so and so, that's so and so.
You can almost tell the genetic traits. It's almost as if you didn't see Peyton, and it wasn't Peyton. You didn't see Eli. Definitely wasn't Eli. It was the brother. But you know a Manning when you see one.
Yeah.
Just
Nah,
saying.
I mean, definitely.
Yeah.
So relation goes a long way. Look like ability also goes a long way. I've run into situations before at multiple places, especially during Super Bowl media week, running into people like Cam Hayward. It wasn't Connor, I know that his brother's obviously a lot thinner and plays on the offensive portion for the Steelers. But once you see Cam is the legit deal. He is who he is. So I have to show my Steeler love. Cam Hayward was just an awesome guy. I love talking to him. It was a fabulous time getting to know him. And his family basically is the very same way. So I got to give shout outs to the Hayward family. And of course, didn't make the Walter Payton Man of the Year, unfortunately. But like I said, there's always next year. As a part of this upcoming draft class, and I know that you've seen Joey Porter Jr. run. His dad was there in full force watching him, former DB coach for the Steelers. What do you guys think of him? Does he get picked by Pittsburgh on the 17th pick, or who do you like the most, and where do you think they're going to? I'll start with you, Coach.
So
My thing,
go
you think you want me to go first? All right.
Go ahead.
Will he be there at 17? That's going to be the biggest question. Because I don't want to inject my bias, but there's a team that selects 16th, and if he falls into our lap, Pittsburgh has zero chance of getting him. Because I think if he even falls to that lap, that's a sky falling down, sky falling out, sky falling out kind of moment where. But I don't think he's gonna last at 17. I think he's gonna probably get in that top 10, probably top 10, 12 pick, right around that range.
Okay.
That.
All right. Well, that's fair. I like Porter Jr. going up to 17. But to be quite honest with you, I think that if the Steelers, if they don't move up to nab him, they're probably doing themselves a pretty large disservice because he is an absolute gem. He's a steal. The guy was quick. Cory, I'll go to you. You've seen him on the field. He was fast. He was quick. He was agile. Give me your takeaways from Joey Porter and Jr. And does he get picked by Pittsburgh, or do you see him going somewhere else?
I compare this to what you want to hear or what you need to hear.
I want to hear the truth. That's what I want to hear.
My opinion, I thought he looked a little sluggish, to be honest with you. I know his talent's there, but
We seem to have lost connection. Go ahead one more time, Cory. I guess we kind of missed Cory there, and I know Coach is back. Coach, I'll have to go to you.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a serious delay going on here. I apologize about that. But Cory, go ahead. Let's try that again.
So what I was saying was I wasn't impressed. I thought he ran a little sluggish. And I say that not to discredit him because he's an all-around talent. That's proven, and that's well documented. I don't know if he was nervous. I don't know what was wrong, but he wasn't as fast as he normally always is. That's what I visualized. I was kind of surprised.
You've seen him run faster?
Well, I mean, he's known to have a little bit of speed, and I was just like, kind of taken back. Part of me, I don't know. I don't want to sound or seem disrespectful with my opinion. I just expected more.
Your opinion is. Yeah, no, your opinion is your opinion. Everybody's entitled to it. Everybody has one.
I just expected more. You get what I'm saying? I ain't expecting a 4.27 out of Joey Porter, but I expected more than what I saw.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go to you, Coach. What did you see out of him?
mean, and like you said, it's a standard. Like you said, to Corey's point, there's a standard with that he bears it. And that's one of the things where it's almost like, in theory, he flunked the test today. Does that make a scholar? No. Like you said, and even as we talked about, as we interviewed players today, a lot of people say the combat experience is going to be different for everyone. Somebody's going to have a good combat, some people are going to have a bad combat. There's an expectation behind Joey Porter. I mean, of what Joey Porter Jr.
Unfair expectation.
Yeah, right. And that's the thing. You're right. But that's what happens when you overachieve. Every small semblance, especially like this, is become something that would be microscopic on the surface. It's blew up in his face. It's like a science experiment gone wrong. Like, you know, when you do the little volcano, it just blows. So today, yeah, it's don't look from an optic standpoint, don't look good in his favor. But it's March 3rd. We'll probably forget about this next week or 2 weeks. His pro day's coming up. He'll have the ability to redeem himself. But today just wasn't his day. I'll put it that way.
You're going to have athletes. Yeah, no, you know what? That's going to happen. You're going to have players who have shown themselves all season long during the regular NCAA season. Then, for some reason, they just drop off. I mean, we're not going to go into the entire detail of Dalen Carter and his situation and what that's going to look like and whether his draft stock drops off or what have you. I'm waiting for the facts to come in before I have that conversation, and I think everybody should as well. And I say that because this could affect his stock. In a matter of fact, it could very well affect his stock heading into the potential number one pick in the NFL draft. So I'm certainly going to keep my eyes out on that. Of course, I'll have more information as that becomes available. As that arises, we'll have that conversation again at some point sooner rather than later. And with that being said, there's just a lot of great talent at the combine. There's a lot of, with these guys, the lack of familiarity with the NFL landscape, other than the scouts that have spoken to them, the scouts that have had those conversations with him, and moreover, their ability to instill the reality of what it's going to look like in an NFL system, being on the sidelines. If they don't get the touches they're looking for, or maybe it's just part of a linebacker rotation, whatever the case may be, they have to be prepared. Out of all the guys that you've spoken to today, Cory, and I'll start with you, who impressed you the most? It seems more NFL ready from a verbal standpoint.
Kentucky's quarterback Will Levis. I'm not saying that because that's where I'm from. I'm saying that just based on the players that I was able to be around by the time that I got there. Will Levis spoke with one-on-one with former ESPN personality Michael Smith, and the questions that Michael Smith was asking him, Will Levis kept constant eye contact. His eyes never twitched. His eyes never wandered away. Usually when you're talking to somebody and you ask a question that makes them uncomfortable or flustered, their eyes start to walk. Their eyes move. Will kept constant eye contact, was very fluent in his speech, and never fumbled a word, wasn't afraid to answer any question that Michael Smith asked him. I was honestly thoroughly impressed. Now, I'm not saying that there wasn't other guys there, but from what I've seen visually, I have to go with Will Levis because I was right there and watched the whole interview.
Wow, that speaks pretty highly. To have visual contact with somebody that is actually interviewing you is relatively impressive, especially from a young player, especially NCAA player, a guy who's maybe not as gifted from a vocal standpoint, not as fluent to have these types of conversations with these on-air personalities. I'm going to ask you the same exact question, Coach. When you've spoken to any of these guys, any of them seem pro ready?
One that stood out, and it's going to be Arquan Bush. He's a cornerback from Cincinnati. And I think I have that uploaded on Twitter. I think Twitter is one of the things where I'm trying to be great, and they messing me up wise, but I'm good though. But I just like the fact that it's coming from that lineage of Cincinnati, kind of knowing, hey, as far as his bond with Sauce Gardner and Kobe Bryant as well. So I like the fact that, it's something that, hey, he leans on it. He gets feedback from them as well. So it's not just a situation where he has a great relationship. And he even said, hey, them playing on the outside and me, playing, so it's one of those things where it helps him down the line as well too. So I definitely think he's going to be someone I think is ready because you had guys that have been successful behind him to get him primed and ready for this opportunity. And like you could just tell where the moment wasn't too much for him. I think he just knew from those guys' experience. And hey, why not get advice from obviously Kobe being a starter in Seattle, and then you got an all-pro cornerback in Sauce Gardner. So two great guys to to kind of alleviate kind of the stress that this week kind of comes with.
That's when we dissect the conversation pieces that we've had with athletes along the way, and there are things that really kind of stand out to you. I know I've interviewed plenty of guys, ones that had made the draft and actually went into the NFL, and some that just didn't. And those particular gentlemen, there's something that from not only a character standpoint, but from a verbal and fluency standpoint shows an IQ pattern. Whether it's good or bad, it still shows an IQ pattern, and it's about following the question. When I interviewed Terrell Edmonds in 2018 when he was drafted by the Steelers out of Virginia Tech, he was pointed, he was sharp, he gave a lot of visual aid in regards to his animation. It really spoke volumes about the kind of person that he is, and he keeps his nose to the grindstone and keeps fighting and just keeps trucking along. What players have you guys interviewed that may have done everything to the best of their ability to get to the next level that ultimately just fell flat and didn't make it? I'll go to you first, Cory.
Now, are you saying as far as prior to today or the players that we interviewed today?
Any of the players you've ever interviewed, including today, collectively.
Again, I don't ever want to throw anybody under the bus, but
well, it's not a throwing under the bus. You're just giving your perspective to who as a player. Was it a safety? Was it a D lineman? Was it an O lineman? You can use that position to make that statement.
Well, I don't know if this kind of falls along those lines, but it's similar. I'll use a guy from Louisville. Guy goes undrafted, shoulda went drafted, was an amazing, talented, was a fairly noted offensive lineman by the name of Cole Bentley out of the ACC conference for Louisville for several years. Goes undrafted, gets picked up by Arizona as a free agent, and then quickly gets let go. Now, I don't know the technicalities, but I personally was kind of disappointed just in the simple fact of I know what the guy's capable of. And I don't know what line that falls along the lines of him not himself not realizing what he's capable of, or is the organization seeing something that I couldn't see?
It could be a combination of both. It does happen where, scouts don't get the full understanding of who these guys are, and in turn not able to report as accurately as they would have liked to the team that's hired them to go do their job. Perhaps they're ill-informed. Perhaps the player himself talked him out of the interview, talked him out of conversations, and it does happen. Sometimes we get in our own way, and we can't really get out of our own way in order to see clearly. Coach, I'm probably going to ask you the same question only because there are guys that you've spoken to that may have fallen off the face of the planet or may have been drafted and then all of a sudden just get cut in a surprising move. Anyone come to mind or any position?
There is one, but I still think that this person has time. So I want to kind of preface before I name drop. I think they have an opportunity to potentially make something of themselves in the NFL. I interviewed last year in Indianapolis. Actually plays for the Commanders. Chris Paul. He's an offensive lineman. He was a healthy scratch pretty much for the majority of the year, considering the fact Washington had so many offensive line issues where he couldn't shake the lineup. So that's one of those where I was really shocked that he, didn't really essentially crack, especially with the woes of the offensive line. But I still think there is time for him. I mean, it is 1 year in. So just as far as still gonna give him time to develop, and hopefully I can eat my words, and a year from now I can be like, you know what, Couch goes call me out, and I had to ball out. So shout out to Chris Paul.
Hopefully so. Injuries are a bug. I mean, they literally are a bug. They come around when they least expect them to even happen. We've seen it in Major League Baseball. We've seen it in every sport, basically, except for maybe golf. And if you hit yourself with a club, maybe you shouldn't play golf. But there's just
you ain't wrong.
A hole in one is your head in the sand. I don't know if you're an ostrich or not, but great stuff, guys. I appreciate the insight. Day 3 is going to be fabulous. Everybody stay tuned to these guys. Go follow them. And I know that Cory's is at Football of Kentucky DBA. So go shoot Cory a follow, get some more insight in regards to the 2023 NFL Combine. And of course, Coach has his own set of rules, but he follows accordingly. So go follow Coach at Couch Coach Live on Twitter. Throw him a follow. He also a very unique perspective on the Combine. I'm sure he'll be able to give you even more information in addition to that. This is Rudy Reyes on the Rude Dog Show. You should already know where I'm at. This will be on the RudeDogShow.com. Go to the RudeDogShow.com for 2023 Combine info. For some reason, I'm slacking. It's because I'm a one-man band, but I don't play the snare. So I do everything else but the snare. Because you have to stab the snare every once in a while. Yeah. Unless they're going to snare down at me. Anyway, this is Rudy Reyes on the Rude Dog Show.
Let me say one thing. The one injuries that players go through that people don't talk about are the mental injuries.
Yeah.
Yes. You're absolutely right.
That's something that I could probably speak on for an hour straight at least. Like, people don't ever think for 1 second the mental injuries that people endure in the process of going through college, and then in the process of going to the Combine. And then once they maybe underperform to themselves, it only makes their mental injury worse when it comes to the public's eye. I could seriously talk about that all day long.
Sure. No, and you have a very valid point, and I'll touch on that since you open up that can of sardines. Of course, I love sardines, but I'll keep mine brief as well. The mental issues that people have heading from their respective collegiate courses, and out of their college into the NFL, knowing they're injured, knowing they may not be looked at, affects them. And not only from a mental standpoint, but from an emotional perspective as well. Because here they are, being at the highs of highs. We won a national championship. We won the ACC. Didn't go on to a bowl game. That's an emotional challenge as well that they're facing. So there's a lot of obstacles along the way that these players are going to have to figure out sooner rather than later. And I know that mental anguish is heavily weighing on their mind, especially when you're talking about what is it going to look like at the next level. Am I going to be able to perform the way that I did in college at the pro level? And will I have a relapse, especially when you talk about injuries and the recovering from the injury? Do you trust the knee? Do you trust the ankle? Do you trust the shoulder if you're a quarterback to throw the ball? There's a lot of trust that you have to actually give yourself in order to plant that leg down, in order to throw a full range, spiral 30, 40 yards. There's a certain amount of trust that you have to have within yourself in order to perform at the next level, albeit the NFL. So that's actually a really good point. Cory has a lot of great insight on that, as well as Coach has his own perspective on that as well. What are your thoughts about that, Coach, before we go?
And that's what people fail to realize as, as people looking at athletes, they're human. They go through the same emotions that we do. I mean,
Yep.
just any process. This is a huge process. Like, can you imagine? You're sitting here. You're about 7 weeks away, not even knowing 7 weeks from now. You don't even know what city you're gonna be living in. Like, you could
Right.
be here in Indianapolis, and you might get drafted on the week of April 27th. You could be drafted to LA. You could be drafted across the country. So you look at that, and then like you said, then it did now from just the aspect of now. You think about it, and some of these guys are gonna be their breadwinners of their families at 21, 22 years old. I mean, it's a lot to understand. Like, they're gonna be, so much distractions just outside of this realm of the field. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, that's one thing I hate when people don't realize they're human just like us. They have emotions, they have feelings, they have problems. Just because you see a guy, oh well, he got a $25 million and 18 million of his guaranteed, he still got issues just like you. That's the three of us. So yeah, big time.
Yeah,
All right.
taxes are also guaranteed too. Taxes,
Oh,
don't forget about that.
Oh, you're right. If you go to LA, like I did that scenario, gosh, like
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. Oh yeah, that's compounding some more stress.
compound fractures galore. And we could talk about this into infinity and beyond. But this is RudeDogShow.com, brought to you by Today's California, Today's Canada. We are on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and of course it will be on the RudeDogShow.com. Again, throw both of these guys a follow. Their names are the same, whether you're on Instagram, whether you're on Facebook, or whether you're on Twitter. So make sure you throw them a follow. And when you do follow, put hashtag the Rude Dog Show, because that's where you heard it. Or maybe you heard it on other places, other formats and the forums that these gentlemen have been on. Thank you, guys. Look forward to the best. Great work
Yes,
so
sir.
far. And we will touch base with you a lot sooner than later. And, of course, the Combine's going on through the weekend. So do what you do and do it well.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, spending your half hour with us. That being said, this is Rudy Reyes on the RudeDogShow.com. We'll see you guys sooner rather than later. Have a great night.